Hello, sports lovers, and warm welcome to the most authoritative sporting channel here on social media. This is your boy Matt. Today's episode, I'm going to review the fight that happened at the Manchester Arena between Filip Hrgovic and Joe the Juggernaut Joyce. It was such an interesting fight by all standards, though we were expecting to see some level of skill from this 2016 Olympic medal graduates. We did not see that. All the same, it was an entertaining slugfest throughout the 10 rounds of action. But if this is the type of content you do enjoy on social media, this is the right time to support your boy by subscribing to the channel. If you have not, press the bell icon, express your views in the comment section, and share so others can enjoy. Now, let me bring you round by round bulletin and what I made of the fight. The first round started with simple 1-2s from Filip Hrgovic, who was pressing the action in the first round, being the most dominant fighter, moving to left to right, which was causing Joe Joyce some problems at the early stages of the fight. But Joe Joyce happened to have reopened the wound or cuts Daniel Dubois caused Filip Hrgovic in their last fight, and that was the good side of the first round for Joe the Juggernaut Joyce. But there were several things I noticed in this particular first round. Joe Joyce had gotten slower. Joe Joyce could not match the hand speed of Filip Hrgovic, and even if his guard was high, he was hit clearly in this particular round. So I clearly scored the first round to Filip Hrgovic, but something changed in the second round where, because of the cuts that Hrgovic had suffered, Joe Joyce changed his style and started applying more pressure. Though both men, like I said, are Olympic graduates, we did not see that level of skill from them because Joe Joyce could have used his boxing IQ to set a lot of traps to keep hitting the targeted area in order to cause Filip Hrgovic loads of problem, but he was just moving or pressuring or walking onto a lot of shots whilst trying to deliver his own without setting traps for Filip Hrgovic or coming behind his jab most often or varying his punches in any way, shape, or form. So, though he won the second round, I think that he should have done better with his game plan, and he should have had a more experienced coach in his corner who would see these things and guide him on how to execute traps for Filip Hrgovic in order to close the eye or make it excessive bleeding in order for the fight to end in his favor. Now, by the third round, I noticed that Joe Joyce, that fast footwork he had was no longer there. He had very, very poor footwork because sometimes he was falling by himself by the weight behind his blows. He wasn't balanced in that particular fight, though Joe Joyce had fought most of the better opponents, and I expect him to put in a better performance than he did. I was shocked by the lack of body shots from Filip Hrgovic and Joe Joyce themselves. Joe Joyce tried throwing some body shots, but I thought that the body shot should have been more for Joe Joyce in because Filip Hrgovic had not had so much time in training, and he would be weak around the belly, and he should have softened Filip Hrgovic around the belly before going for head, because Filip Hrgovic, we noticed in this particular fight, that has one hell of a chin, as I don't remember him being knocked down so far in his career. Though Daniel Dubois beat him in the last fight, the fight was stopped through a cut but not a knockdown. So Joe the Juggernaut Joyce also won the third round for me. In the fourth round, Filip Hrgovic came back, won the fourth round and one thing I realized in this particular fourth round, because of the cards, Filip Hrgovic was not landing the left hook, though he was the more aggressor in this particular fight, and he did enough to win this particular fight, though Joe the Juggernaut Joyce kept pressing the action. The lack of movement made it quite a close round, though Filip Hrgovic won. By the fifth round, due to the pressure, or the energy exerted by Filip Hrgovic in the previous round, he had lost a lot of energy and he was just in the neutral corner where Joyce was just applying pressure on him, and you were starting to think that things were beginning to tilt in the favor of the Juggernaut Joyce, because practically Filip Hrgovic had become a stationary target, leaning on the ropes, leaning in the corner, and just receiving punishment. It was similar in the 6th round, where Hrgovic has significantly gotten slow. But at this stage, I need to say that Joyce needs to re-examine his career, because it is very, very easy to hate Joyce, and he takes punches on his head, and that is one thing he hasn't learned from since the Zhejiang fight. We all remember, if Parker is not a heavy hitter, if not, Parker landed so many good shots on Joyce, which could have taken a lot of heavyweights down. But as at that time, there hadn't been dent in the chin of Joyce, so he was able to take them well. And Joyce has not improved since the Joseph Parker fight. That is what is affecting him at this stage of his career. And I think that Hrgovic did poorly in this particular round. He has slowed down significantly, but he closed the round stronger. Then in the seventh round, he landed. At the start of the round, Joyce landed a good over right hand. Filip Hrgovic ate it well, moved backwards, and regained composure. But there was so much pressure on Filip Hrgovic in this particular round, as things were beginning to look in the favor of the Juggernaut Joyce. But I was shocked by the 8th, 9th, and 10th round. Filip Hrgovic has regained his second win and has started taking control of the fight again. I think that was the most deciding rounds in this particular fight, because Filip Hrgovic won the last 3 rounds in my book, and I think that it was a clear win for Filip Hrgovic. Though Joyce was an in-house fighter, it was a matter of volume of work versus cleaner punches in this particular round, because 8th, 9th, and 10th round, you could see the clean punches landed on Joyce by Filip Hrgovic, and though Joyce edged them well, it is not good for his health. I think that Joyce must truly re-examine his career. It was a competitive fight by all standards, but Joyce is taking too much punishment. It may not be good for his long-term health. He needs to make money. I don't think that he has made that career-changing money yet that would make him retire. So maybe he would be taking the small fights, being good enough in order to build up his record, just like Derek Chisoro did. We all thought Derek Chisoro was taking so much punishment, but look at how he has changed and turned things around in his last 3 fights, and now he is the mandatory to Daniel Dubois IBF championship. So Joyce needs to re-examine his career. For Filip Hrgovic, I think that he needs to come down in weight. He should be around 140, where he's able to carry himself very well, move around very well, light on his feet, faster, because you don't need to always be heavy as a heavyweight. Alexander Usyk has taught us that the likes of Muhammad Ali were not that big, but they were light on their feet. They were heavy, they were light, and they were very, very fast, I meant to say. So Filip Hrgovic needs to come down in weight around 240 to 245 pounds. The 250 pounds and above is not good for him. Even 245 pounds is bad for Filip Hrgovic, because someone who started his career in his 220s, I think that he should be around 240 to 242 pounds in order to have that speed advantage over many of the heavyweights today. So this is my take. I think that Filip Hrgovic won the fight fair and square without any sort of without any sort of machination. And Joyce is a champion's champion. He took it well. He spoke well after the fight, and he said he would be back again. We would be supporting him all the same next time he comes around, because when Joyce is in the ring, you are assured of quality entertainment. Thank you for watching. Stay positive. Remember, your greatness has no limits.